Carlos Alcaraz, the rising star of tennis, stood firmly at the baseline, his eyes locked onto the bright fluorescent ball. The setting sun dipped behind the stadium, casting long shadows across the clay court, while his chest heaved with each breath. Beads of sweat rolled down his temples, dampening his focus. Across the net stood his opponent, a seasoned player notorious for his relentless defense, preparing to serve. The scoreboard read 4-5 in the deciding set of the championship match. The tension was suffocating, almost tangible, as the serve rocketed toward him. Carlos' mind wasn't on the ball, it was a battlefield of thoughts, consumed by a confrontation with his coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, just hours before. The disagreement had been simmering for weeks, a quiet storm gaining strength until it finally erupted in the players' lounge earlier that day. "Carlos, your focus is slipping. Your mind isn't in the game lately. What's going on?" Ferrero's voice carried a mixture of frustration and genuine concern. Feeling cornered and misunderstood, Carlos lashed back with a sharpness that even surprised himself. "Maybe it's not me who's losing focus. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're not giving me what I need anymore, Juan Carlos. Maybe it's time for a change." The words landed heavily between them, charged with unspoken emotions and consequences neither was ready to confront. Ferrero, his usual calm replaced by a cold intensity, countered sharply. "Is that what you want? To end this? Think carefully, Carlos. This is a critical point in your career." Carlos, fueled by the arrogance of youth and annoying uncertainty, didn't back down.
"I've thought about it.
"I need someone who believes in me and pushes me without holding me back. I'm not sure you're that person anymore." The exchange had ended with Ferrero walking away, the sting of disappointment etched into his face. And now on the court, Carlos carried the weight of those words. He tried to zero in on the match, but the echoes of their fight were relentless. Each rally, each shot felt like punctuation to the unresolved conflict with his coach. His opponent sensed the cracks in Carlos' mental armor. With every mistake Carlos made, the memory of their argument grew louder. "I need someone who believes in me." The crowd's cheers became a distant murmur as the match slipped further from his grasp. His rival, smelling blood, pressed harder, exploiting Carlos' mounting frustration. The final moment came, a championship point. Exhausted physically and mentally, Carlos misfired a critical return. The ball soared long, landing out. The match was over. The stadium erupted in polite applause for the victor. Carlos approached the net, forcing a tense smile as he shook his opponent's hand, then walked off the court with his racket dangling loosely at his side. He bypassed the crowds of reporters and fans, his mind swirling with regret and defiance. In the silent solitude of the locker room, he sank onto a bench. The cool air did little to soothe his overheated thoughts. He stared at the floor for what felt like hours before reaching for his phone. His fingers hovered over the screen, hesitating between uncertainty and resolve. Finally, he typed the message that felt like the only honest truth at that moment. "Juan Carlos, I'm sorry for what I said earlier. It was out of line, and I was under a lot of pressure. But I meant what I said about needing a change. I think it's best for both of us to take some time apart professionally. I hope we can discuss this more calmly soon." With a mix of dread and relief, Carlos hit send. Part of him feared he had just made the biggest mistake of his career. Another part felt liberated, as though he'd finally seized control of his destiny. The following days were a blur of media speculation and behind-the-scenes negotiations. Carlos avoided interviews, choosing instead to retreat to the comfort of his family and a few trusted friends. He trained alone, each session marked by a newfound intensity and razor-sharp focus, as if trying to prove something, to himself, to the world, to Ferrero. What lay ahead was uncertain, but Carlos knew one thing. This was his moment to rebuild, to rediscover who he was, and to take his career into his own hands, no matter the cost. The absence of Ferrero was both a wound and a turning point. A sharp moment of pain that pushed Carlos Alcaraz to prove something not to the world, but to himself. He could succeed on his own terms. As the weeks turned into months, the transformation happening within Carlos began to reflect on the court. His shots were sharper, his strategies more refined. He was no longer just a young talent under Ferrero's watchful eye. He had become a true contender, an independent force carving out his place among the best in the world. It all culminated during another major tournament. Facing the media for the first time since their split, Carlos stood confidently in front of the cameras. His posture exuded quiet authority, and his answers were measured and thoughtful. "Every partnership runs its course. Juan Carlos played a vital role in getting me to where I am today, and I'll always be grateful for that. We had a great journey together, but it was time for me to take a new path." Journalists pressed him for more details about the split, but Carlos remained calm, offering diplomatic responses that steered attention toward the future. "It's not about what went wrong. It's about what comes next. I'm excited for the opportunities ahead and the challenges that await." As he walked away from the press conference, a lingering trace of doubt finally disappeared. For the first time, Carlos felt like the true captain of his own ship. The road ahead was uncertain and uncharted, but it was his to travel, and he welcomed it. In the days that followed, Carlos embarked on a deeply introspective journey. He began to re-evaluate everything: his training, his mindset, and his overall approach to tennis. On the court, he pushed himself to the edge, spending hours refining his strokes and building his stamina. But it was off the court where he achieved the most significant breakthroughs. Recognizing the mental strain that had built up over time, Carlos started working with a sports psychologist who specialized in elite athletes. Their sessions went far beyond surface-level advice. Together, they explored the hidden mental blocks that had taken root during his years with Ferrero. It wasn't just about physical skill, it was about unlocking the mental resilience required to thrive under the immense pressure of professional tennis. Carlos opened up about the crushing weight of expectations, not just from fans and media, but from himself. He analyzed his past performances, identifying not just technical flaws but moments when his focus wavered or his confidence cracked. The psychologist introduced him to new tools for managing stress and anxiety: visualization techniques, focused breathing exercises, and mindful meditation routines designed to center him before every match. Simultaneously, Carlos overhauled his physical training regimen. Under the guidance of a new fitness coach, he incorporated cutting-edge biomechanical techniques. Every movement and swing was analyzed through video breakdowns, fine-tuning his efficiency and reducing the risk of injury. His workouts became more sophisticated, a mix of high-intensity drills, agility exercises, and endurance training tailored to improve his performance on every surface. Nutrition also became a key focus. Carlos began collaborating with a nutritionist who crafted a diet plan to optimize his energy levels and recovery times. He learned how to time his meals and snacks to maintain peak energy throughout his grueling matches. Each dish and supplement was carefully selected to fuel his body, emphasizing lean proteins, complex carbohydrates, and essential fats. With Ferrero no longer guiding him, Carlos also took a hands-on approach to his technical game. He spent countless hours studying footage, both of his past matches and those of his opponents. This meticulous analysis allowed him to identify patterns, anticipate strategies, and refine his own responses. Sitting down with his interim coaching advisor, he meticulously developed match-specific tactics, preparing for each opponent with a sharper edge. Beyond strategy and training, Carlos reached out to other players on the tour, veterans who had navigated similar transitions. Their advice was invaluable, not just on a practical level but also emotionally. Conversations often extended beyond tennis, delving into the broader realities of life as a professional athlete and the personal growth that comes with it. These interactions reassured him that he wasn't alone and gave him renewed confidence that he was on the right path. Gradually, his relationship with the media and public began to shift. Once seen as a rising prodigy under a legendary coach, Carlos was now recognized as a mature and independent athlete. He handled press conferences with newfound poise, his answers thoughtful and forward-looking. No longer burdened by doubt, he presented himself as a man with a clear vision for the future. Tournament by tournament, Carlos' performances reflected the internal work he had done. His victories became more than just wins, they were affirmations of his transformation. Each match he played felt less like an escape from Ferrero's shadow and more like the emergence of his own legacy. His resilience, improved skills, and strengthened mental game didn't go unnoticed. Fans, commentators, and even his peers began to view him as not just a talented player, but a formidable competitor capable of defining his own destiny. Amid his rigorous training and personal evolution, Carlos also prioritized fostering relationships within his new team. He invested time in building trust with his fitness coach, psychologist, hitting partners, and the extended crew responsible for his daily logistics. He understood that a supportive team environment was critical to sustaining his progress. Carlos Alcaraz was no longer the same player he had been months before. He had turned a moment of uncertainty into a catalyst for growth. His journey, full of challenges, introspection, and relentless effort, had transformed him into a stronger, more complete athlete. The future remained unknown, but Carlos had embraced the uncertainty. For the first time, he wasn't afraid to see where the path ahead would lead. He was ready for whatever came next. Carlos worked tirelessly to ensure that every member of his team felt valued and essential to the process. The harmony within the group became a cornerstone of his evolving career, especially as he navigated the complexities of moving forward without Ferrero. During practice sessions, Carlos grew more vocal than ever before, actively engaging with his team and expressing his thoughts about his technique and strategy. He encouraged open dialogue, fostering an atmosphere where feedback wasn't just accepted but actively sought. This shift marked a significant transformation. Carlos transitioned from a player passively following a coach's direction to an active leader, fully immersed in shaping his own training environment. Beyond the court, Carlos became deeply involved in the logistical aspects of his career. He attended management meetings, discussing his schedule, sponsorship obligations, and public appearances. By taking charge of these details, he gained a stronger understanding of the business side of professional tennis. This newfound awareness gave him more control over his career trajectory and allowed him to align his professional commitments with his long-term goals. Carlos' approach to competition also matured. He began participating in in-depth scouting sessions alongside his interim advisor, meticulously studying potential opponents. Together, they reviewed match footage, pausing frequently to analyze player habits, patterns, and vulnerabilities. This thorough preparation gave Carlos an edge. When he stepped onto the court, he felt confident and assured that he had done everything possible to anticipate and counter his rival's style of play. At the same time, his physical training evolved significantly. Carlos worked closely with his sponsors to experiment with new equipment. He tested various rackets and string tensions, fine-tuning every element until he found the ideal combination that maximized his power and precision. Hours on the court were spent calibrating even minor adjustments to ensure his shots had the perfect balance of control and explosiveness. This level of detail, previously overlooked, became a key factor in his improved performance. Recovery and self-care also became central to Carlos' new approach. His team established a rigorous recovery protocol that included ice baths, stretching routines, and sports massages to help his body withstand the rigors of the long tennis season. Understanding that rest was just as crucial as physical exertion, Carlos prioritized downtime and embraced practices like yoga and Pilates. These additions improved his core strength, flexibility, and agility while also serving as preventative measures against injuries. Over time, the cumulative effects of these changes became evident. Not only did Carlos' rankings and performance statistics reflect his hard work, but his demeanor on and off the court transformed. He appeared calmer under pressure, quicker to adapt mid-match, and carry himself with newfound poise in both victory and defeat. His growth didn't go unnoticed. Peers, coaches, and commentators began to acknowledge him as not only a talented player but also a mature professional committed to shaping his own future. This newfound independence also extended into his personal life. Carlos began to understand the importance of maintaining balance amidst the relentless demands of his career. He deliberately carved out time for relaxation and self-discovery, recognizing that mental breaks were essential to his overall well-being. Leisure activities became part of his routine, spending time with family, catching up with close friends, and exploring hobbies like photography, which allowed him to find moments of peace and beauty during the chaos of the tour. Another habit that enriched his life was reading, a practice encouraged by Ferrero during their time together. Carlos gravitated toward books on sports psychology, biographies of legendary athletes, and thought-provoking fiction that broadened his worldview. These moments of quiet reflection offered fresh insights, not only helping him unwind but also deepening his understanding of his own journey. Inspired by his sports psychologist, Carlos began journaling as well. Every night, he wrote about his training sessions, his emotions, and his aspirations. This simple yet profound exercise allowed him to process his thoughts, clarify his goals, and face his fears with greater self-awareness. Technically, Carlos continued sharpening every facet of his game. His already formidable forehand gained even more power and precision. Hours of dedicated practice turned his backhand, a former weakness, into a reliable weapon. His serve improved dramatically in speed and placement, adding another layer to his strategic arsenal. Perhaps most importantly, Carlos' decision-making evolved. Where indecision had occasionally crept in during matches with Ferrero, he now trusted his instincts and analytical skills. He became adept at reading opponents early in matches, adapting his game plan on the fly, and exploiting openings with confidence. His fitness regimen, too, was meticulously tailored to meet the demands of his growing game. High-intensity interval training, HIIT, was balanced with endurance-focused workouts, ensuring that Carlos maintained his explosive power for rapid sprints while remaining consistent during grueling matches that tested his stamina. Carlos' relationship with the media also matured. Previously cautious and guarded, largely under Ferrero's protective influence, he began speaking more candidly. Now, Carlos expressed his professional aspirations and challenges with openness and clarity. This transparency not only strengthened his connection with fans but also allowed him to shape the public narrative surrounding his career. Despite their professional separation, Carlos spoke of Ferrero with great respect, always acknowledging the vital role his former coach had played in his development. This graciousness preserved his positive image and left the door open for reconciliation, both personally and professionally. As the season progressed, Carlos' results spoke for themselves. His consistency and resilience propelled him up the rankings, affirming that his comprehensive approach to growth was paying off. Each match, whether a win or a loss, became an opportunity for learning and improvement. Through his deliberate efforts, Carlos Alcaraz wasn't just refining his game, he was redefining himself as both an athlete and an individual. His journey was marked by relentless work, thoughtful introspection, and an unwavering commitment to progress. With every step, he was building a legacy that was uniquely his own, a testament to his ability to overcome challenges, embrace change, and carve out a path defined by his own terms. As he continued to hone his craft, Carlos knew that the mental side of the sport was just as critical as the physical. By integrating mental resilience exercises into his routine, he strengthened his ability to thrive under pressure, ensuring that no challenge, on or off the court, could shake his determination to succeed. Carlos worked diligently to strengthen his focus, learning to tune out distractions, manage his emotions after a lost point, and visualize success both before and during matches. He came to realize the power of routines and rituals to build confidence and calm pre-match anxiety. Carlos developed a structured series of pre-game rituals, including targeted warm-ups, dynamic stretching, and mental preparation techniques. These practices became integral to his performance, giving him a sense of readiness and control that translated seamlessly onto the court. In addition to refining his training regimen, Carlos and his team focused on optimizing his travel schedule to ensure proper rest and recovery. Together, they meticulously planned his tournament calendar, prioritizing events that suited his playing style and physical condition. They considered not only the court surface but also the geographical and climatic demands of each location. This strategic approach minimized travel fatigue, enabling Carlos to deliver consistently high-level performances throughout the season. Carlos' connection with his fans also evolved significantly. He became more active on social media, offering glimpses into his training routine, behind-the-scenes moments at tournaments, and personal reflections. This transparency deepened his bond with fans worldwide, turning his platform into a source of inspiration for aspiring tennis players. By sharing his journey, its challenges and triumphs, Carlos emerged as a relatable role model for young athletes striving to pursue sports with passion and commitment. Eager to expand his understanding of athletic excellence, Carlos sought out insights from other sports. He met with coaches and elite athletes from basketball, soccer, and swimming to learn how they approach team dynamics, recovery processes, and handling media pressure. These interdisciplinary conversations introduced him to new training methodologies and recovery technologies that he adapted to his own tennis routine, broadening his perspective and improving his preparation. Carlos' approach to nutrition also evolved further. In close collaboration with his nutritionist, his diet was constantly adjusted to meet his body's demands and match his training intensity. Before matches, his carbohydrate intake was optimized to maximize energy, while post-match protein consumption prioritized recovery. Hydration strategies were tailored to account for varying climates and playing conditions. Over time, his nutrition became as vital to his preparation as his physical workouts, fueling him with precision and care. On the technical side, Carlos deepened his analytical understanding of the sport. He adopted data analytics tools to complement traditional video reviews, analyzing not just his own matches but also his opponent's gameplay. By identifying patterns in their strategies, he could anticipate their moves and devise effective counter-tactics. This methodical approach provided a competitive edge, enabling Carlos to step onto the court with both confidence and clarity. Carlos' growing autonomy also extended into managing his professional partnerships. Working closely with his management team, he prioritized aligning with sponsors whose values and long-term visions matched his own. He sought authentic partnerships that added value to his personal brand, ensuring that every sponsorship felt purposeful and aligned with his career goals. Through this combination of meticulous preparation and strategic decision-making, Carlos continued to grow, not just as a player but as a complete professional athlete. His holistic approach set a new benchmark for managing a tennis career, emphasizing the importance of balance, continuous learning, and personal growth. Carlos' commitment to a well-rounded career extended to his work in the community. Recognizing his position as a global sports figure, he used his platform to give back. He became actively involved in charitable initiatives, particularly programs aimed at promoting youth sports. Carlos led tennis clinics and workshops, sharing his experience and mentoring young players. He also supported educational initiatives, funding scholarships and programs to provide opportunities for underprivileged youth. His goal was clear: to equip the next generation with the resources and confidence to pursue their dreams, whether in sports or other paths in life. Incorporating cutting-edge technology into his training became another cornerstone of Carlos' evolution. He began using wearable devices to monitor his physiological responses, such as heart rate, muscle strain, and overall effort levels during training and matches. This real-time data allowed Carlos to adjust his intensity as needed, avoiding overtraining while maximizing his physical output. He also explored advanced recovery methods, including cryotherapy and hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which sped up muscle repair and reduced recovery times. These tools enabled Carlos to maintain peak physical condition through the grueling tennis calendar. Carlos even incorporated virtual reality into his mental training. Using VR simulations, he practiced responding to various in-game scenarios without the physical toll of actual matches. This innovation sharpened his tactical awareness and allowed him to experiment with strategies in a low-risk, controlled environment. The experience strengthened his mental resilience and gave him another layer of preparation heading into competition. Building a robust support network became equally important to Carlos. He surrounded himself not only with trainers and medical professionals but also with mentors from diverse fields, including business, the arts, and science. These interactions offered him fresh perspectives on leadership, creativity, and resilience, enriching his understanding of success beyond the boundaries of tennis. This broadened outlook gave Carlos a renewed sense of purpose and balance in his life. Carlos' maturity was further reflected in his approach to managing his schedule. He learned to say no to tournaments or sponsorship opportunities that didn't align with his long-term goals or personal well-being. This selective focus allowed him to channel his energy into what truly mattered, ensuring that every commitment served a strategic purpose. In his interactions with the media, Carlos became more articulate and confident. He handled tough questions with composure, using interviews as opportunities to share insights into his journey and growth. He spoke candidly about his professional decisions, aspirations, and challenges, building trust with journalists and fans alike. His thoughtful responses elevated his public image, positioning him as not just a talented athlete but also an eloquent advocate for the sport. Carlos' journey was more than just an evolution as a tennis player, it was a profound transformation as a person. His multifaceted approach, which combined physical training, mental growth, personal well-being, and social responsibility, reflected his belief that true success is about balance. He understood that the pursuit of greatness extended beyond winning matches. It involved contributing to the world, growing as an individual, and inspiring others along the way. By embracing this comprehensive strategy, Carlos not only prepared himself to succeed on the court but also ensured that his impact would be felt far beyond it.